powerful man lies flat on his back in a tent on the Danube frontier, refusing to move. The Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, the most powerful man in the known world, and at this moment 49 years old, immersed in darkness. It is winter. The camp outside is frozen mud and wood smoke. There's a war with the Marcomanni that has dragged on for years and will outlive him. There are dispatches waiting. There are men waiting. His wife is far away. His children keep dying. He will bury most of them. His body aches in the mornings in a way it did not used to, and he has a physician who keeps giving him something for the pain. And under the blankets, in the cold, the most powerful man alive is having the same small, humiliating argument he has every morning. He does not want to get up. What he wanted was smaller than an empire. He wanted to not need to be dragged. He wanted the wanting and the doing to be the same motion, the way it is for the ant, for the bee, for the spider spinning without a speech first. He watched other men and envied the ease of them. He had a brother by adoption, Lucius, who ruled beside him and woke up hungry for wine, for chariots, for the next room full of people saying his name. Lucius never had to argue with the ceiling. Lucius went where his appetite pointed and called it a life. And Marcus, who had all the same power and none of the same appetite, lay there doing arithmetic with his own reluctance, trying to talk a body into a day it had not asked for. That was the thing he chased his whole life and never caught. The morning he would wake and simply want it. He wrote toward it. He argued toward it. He never got it. Every single dawn for years, the same cold negotiation, the same losing side, and then the same ending. Did he want to? No. He rose. He was 17 when the emperor's letter came, and the men around him wept with joy, and he went to his room and wrote to his tutor that he had dreamed his shoulders had turned to ivory. Ivory. Beautiful and cold and not his. That was the first gift. Every gift after that arrived the same way, heavier than it looked and addressed to someone else. They gave him the purple. He wore it over armor in a swamp for 8 years, and the dye ran in the rain. They gave him a triumph. Rome shouted his name until the sound came off the buildings in waves, and he rode through it with a captured king walking in front of his horse. And that night he wrote about how quickly the men who shout your name will shout someone else's, and how the throat that praises you does not know you, and how all of it is a mouth, opening and closing. He was 35 feet above the crowd and further away than that. They put his face on the coins. He noted that the coins would outlast the face, and that this was not comforting, and that he should stop thinking about it and go do the work. They named him God in the eastern provinces while he was still alive. He was, at the time, coughing blood into a cloth in a tent that smelled of horses. None of it reached the place it was supposed to reach. He kept accepting things that were meant to fill a man and discovering, each time, that the man was not the shape of the thing. And still the next morning would come, gray at the tent seam, cold in the fingers, and the argument would start again exactly where it had ended. Did he want to? No. He rose. He won. That is the part people forget. The frontier held. The rebellion in the east collapsed before he even arrived to fight it. And when they brought him the head of the man who had declared himself emperor, he refused to look at it and wept that he had been denied the chance to forgive. He was given a triumph. He was given the name of the river he had conquered. He was given, in the end, everything the world had left to give a man, and he took it back to a tent and set it down, and it was still a tent. Count what it cost. He had at least 13 children. Most of them he buried. He buried a son at 4 and another son, and then he buried Faustina in a village in the mountains so obscure he had to give a name to mark that she had been there. He was not home for it. He was not home for most of it. He spent the last decade of his life a few hundred miles from a border he could not fix, corresponding with his own household like a stranger applying for news of it. And the one son who lived, the one who would inherit everything, every province, every legion, every word he had ever written about restraint, was already becoming the argument against all of it, and Marcus could see it and wrote instead about how the fig tree does what fig trees do. He got smaller. Not humbler, smaller. The blood in the cloth got worse. The mornings got colder. And every one of them started the same way, with a 50-year-old man under a blanket, doing arithmetic against his own body, losing. Did he want to? No. He rose. The man who lit his brazier woke in the same cold. Earlier hour, thinner blanket, no tent of his own, a space between crates, a wool cloak doubled over, the frost on it in the morning like a second skin. He was awake before the emperor because someone had to be. He carried coals from a night fire in a clay pot against his chest, and he did not narrate it to himself. He did not lie there weighing whether the world deserved him. He put his feet on the ground because the ground was where his feet went. Put them side by side. 20 paces apart, the same darkness, the same wind coming off the same river. One of them ruled the known world and had to be argued into his own mourning. The other owned a cloak, a pot, and a knife, and needed no argument at all. And here is the part that should sit badly with you. The servant was not enlightened. He had not read anything. He had no philosophy, no discipline, no doctrine of assent. He simply wanted less, so less was enough, and the arithmetic that crushed the emperor every dawn never even opened in him, because he was not owed anything, so nothing could come up short. Marcus knew. That is the unbearable thing. He wrote about that man, the vine that bears grapes and asks for no credit, and then went on being the other kind, the kind that has to be talked into the day, the kind that owns everything and therefore owes everything, the kind for whom rising is a debt collected before sunrise every morning for 19 years. Did he wanna? No. He rose. There's a version of the story where Marcus never asks, where he watches the man from a distance for 19 years and dies still wondering. But that is not what the notebook suggests. The notebook suggests he asked. Picture it badly lit. Before the trumpets, before the couriers, the frost still holding its shape on the tent ropes. The man is doing what he does every morning, feeding a fire he did not have to be argued in a building. And the emperor of the known world, wrapped in a blanket he has just lost a war against, says something like, "How are you not miserable?" And the man does not philosophize. He does not know he is being consulted. He says the only true thing he has, which is small enough to fit in one breath. I never asked the morning for anything, so it has never let me down. That is it. That is the whole doctrine delivered by someone who does not know he has won. Because Marcus was not fighting the cold. He was fighting the gap between what he had decided the day owed him and what the day was actually going to hand over. And the gap is not made by the world. The gap is made by the asking. Shrink the ask, and the gap closes, and there is nothing left to argue with. Nothing left between you and the floor but your own feet. He understood it immediately. He wrote it down. And the next morning he woke and wanted to stay, exactly as before, but something underneath had turned over. Did he want to? Yes. He rose anyway. That was always the only part that was his. You have been waiting for the wanting to arrive. That is the whole of it. You have built your life around a feeling that was never coming and called its absence a character flaw. The Stoics gave this a name. They said the impulse to act and the act itself are two separate things, and only one of them answers to you. Marcus wrote it to himself in the dark, in the second book of things he never meant you to read. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being. What do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? Notice what he does not say. He does not say the bed stops being warm. He does not say the morning gets easier or that one day you will wake up hungry for the work. He says, go anyway. The feeling was never the ticket. You were let in at birth. So carry this. Stop auditing your motivation before you move. Stop asking the body for permission it does not have the authority to give. Did he want to? No. He rose. The camp is gone. The frontier is a line on a map nobody defends anymore. The empire he held together with both hands came apart anyway, and the sun he left it to burn what was left of it. Almost none of it survived. What survived was a man in the dark, losing an argument with a blanket, and writing it down so honestly that 18 centuries later a stranger could read it and recognize their own morning. He never solved it. He just kept getting up. That's the whole inheritance. Not the victory, the record of the struggle, repeated until the repetition became a life. Tomorrow it starts again. The warmth, the argument, the ordinary weight of being alive and human. Did he want to? No. He rose. Subscribe. New Stoic wisdom every day. Short texto natila. One emperor of Rome didn't want to get out of bed. Either two, he wrote the argument with himself down and lost at most mornings 3. Did he want to? No. He rose anyway. Term and calm, full video on the channel plus #stoicism.